soft tone melodies and open tone vibrations. It's life. Couple back.
All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to ElectricLOuieLand and the podcast. It is my honor to welcome our guest today, which is Mr. Peter Sprague. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and introduce Mr. Peter Sprague.
Hey, Louie.
So what's up, man? How are you?
Man, I like that intro music you have going there.
Oh, thank you so much. It's part of this track that I've been using for the streams. So it's something I just kind of put together with my friend Tony that runs the studio.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and one thing I liked is the talking, and it's sort of distorted talking.
Yeah.
Like as if it's from the Soviet Union maybe or something.
Yeah, it's kind of a long story where that track comes from, actually. It originally was like a spoken word piece by Tony. And he had it years ago, and I always thought it was cool, and he ended up recording it to some weird like jam we were doing, and he made this thing out of it, and then I kind of just took that and ran with it and created this whole other thing, and I actually had him redo it because there was so much noise in the back. So and then that last part's actually the original, so it's kind of fuzzy, and I kind of liked it. So anyways, yeah.
Oh, so it wasn't fuzzy intentionally and originally.
It was actually. Tony ended up putting this cool little, like, I don't even remember what it was called. It's in GarageBand, but it was like a fuzz essentially.
Beautiful.
And I just kind of ran. Anyways, it's been like, I just kind of ended up using it for the streams, and I was like, do I really like this?
I do. I recognize it from the streams too, right. and I think it sets it up beautifully.
Cool, thanks. I'm glad.
Yeah.
So how are you?
I'm good. I've been in the studio all day. Let's see. We have a live stream coming up, and we're doing all original music for this particular one.
Okay, cool.
So Mac is on bass, and Tripp, and Danny Green, and Duncan.
Great.
And so everyone's writing songs, and so we're having to learn some songs, and it's a lot of homework.
Right.
So, because you got to burn, and you got to figure out how to play it, and then try to memorize it, But anyway, but I was doing that, and then I had a guitar. I do rare guitar lessons, but I gave this guy, God, you should know about him. His name is Albert Hurtado.
Okay.
You know him?
No.
He's a guy that plays reggae mostly, but he's really learning jazz well, and that was fun. And then I had a gal that came over that we're doing a record with.
Cool.
But we're doing the arranging part of it now. So
So
I'm sort of hungry, and it's been a long day, but I'm stoked to be here with you.
Well, thanks for doing this, man. I just thought it'd be cool. I talked with Gilbert and Christopher Holiday the other day.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was cool hanging out with them, like Christopher and him. I didn't realize they had known each other for a while. Like, I mean, I kind of knew they did, but I didn't realize to the extent.
Where did they know each other from?
I guess they just saw each other from playing on the scene, but like, I kind of assumed it was just from San Diego, but it turns out that like Gilbert had kind of met Christopher before, like when he was at school, and it was just funny. Yeah, they had a funny story. Yeah,
well, I think Gilbert in the early days wasn't even living here, and he was in the Black Note group, and then Christopher Holiday had some major success early on, I think. But man, what heavy players, really great players.
Yeah, it was cool to just sit there and chat. And we talked about the stream that we did yesterday. I was trying to use it as like kind of a promotion too. And so it was cool. They were talking about Cannonball Adderley and their concert. And I don't know, I just asked them some questions, and we were just kind of chatting, really. It was cool though. It was like, I see those guys all the time, when back, a year ago when the jams were going on, and it was just cool. But it was always like, you see them at the jam, you don't really get to sit down and like talk really.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, if you were hanging out later on, but not with Christopher. So it was cool. Anyways, that's why it's nice to be able to do this. I'm kind of digging the Zoom thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Everyone hates it, but I kind of love it.
No, I do. I've been doing it a little bit too. Just like using it somewhat as a promotional device, to talk about something that's coming up and that. But it's nice to hang, and you and I just hung a little bit on the phone, and this is just
Yeah.
as good. In fact, better, because I fucking love your backdrop, man.
Oh, thanks. Did you ever call the sign guy?
Not yet, but dude, I haven't given it up.
Okay, cool.
I just had a lot on my plate, but I have the card, the contact information,
Okay.
and I'm going to do it at some point because it looks so good.
Yeah, I
and,
think.
And is it generating the purple light in your room?
Yeah, it's purple. I don't know how he does it. It's neon. It's a neon sign that's purple. I'm not sure.
But like, there's purple right behind you to your right.
Oh yeah, that's from the light. Yeah.
Man, dynamite.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah.
Nice, man. Well, what's funny is look at what I found.
Ah. A collector's item.
And it's
an early version of it.
Yeah.
Where did you get that?
Oh, I don't even, honestly, I'm not even sure. I've had it for years, to be honest.
That's neat, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I just ordered that is probably one of the earlier versions because I can recognize the cover is one of the earlier covers.
Yeah.
And I just, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, put out a newer version, sort of cleaned up some mistakes and added some more stuff. Okay. And then just yesterday we got and actually it's been far out. That thing has sold pretty well.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Like on my on my website, we have I have a bunch of books, like a transcribed solos of Chick Corea, for instance. That one does pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But Sonny Rollins, Charlie Parker, McCoy Tyner,
okay,
and then one that it's assorted. So I have all these books, and plus that technique book, and the books end up selling, and CD sales or even downloads have completely stopped.
Right? Yeah, I'm sure it's a whole new game.
It's a whole new game.
Yeah.
But so yes, just yesterday we got a couple orders for the book, and so my wife Stephanie she handles sort of the fulfilling the orders, and she said, "We're out of books, man." So I had to order another 500.
Oh, okay.
Or 500? No, about 100.
Okay, cool.
Anyway, yeah. So that book has got all my little ideas that
I love it. I mean, I've had this for a while, to be honest.
Hey, well, here's a question that I have for you. How do you look at music? Do you look at it in sort of an analytical, technical way, or do you just more of an ear guy? What is your flow with music? Or both, maybe.
Well, are you sure you want to open that can of worms? Honestly, I kind of do it from both perspectives now. I guess for me, I kind of ended up learning. I mean, I kind of found jazz from going to school, really. Mm-hmm. I didn't really know, I'm from East County in Lakeside. No one listens to jazz out there. So I had never really found it until I had to go to college, or I felt like I had to. And I decided, I was like, well, I'm going to study music and guitar, might as well. And I had to choose between jazz or classical.
Okay.
And I didn't really, I played Hendrix and Led Zeppelin. I didn't, I kind of looked it up a little bit, and I could tell the jazz players you could tell they knew what they were doing. And I was just like, man, I want to do that. So I kind of came at it from like an analytical perspective on accident.
Yeah.
And then after school, I ended up doing kind of the ear, like I went back to the basics, mostly because I got a church gig. Mm-hmm. And those, it's like at a gospel church, and they don't write music.
Right.
So they just send it. It's all by ear.
Yeah.
And then I kind of just dived in from it through that. Mm-hmm. And I really went hard. Like I started to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I was like, oh wow, this makes perfect sense. You should have to like communicate like this, where it's literally, I say something, you say something, you say something, I say something. And there's like an established foundation. And then I really started hearing all the chords and movements and numbers, and all the theoretical stuff started making sense. I was like, for me, it was easier because it was like, oh, well, that's what that sounds like. That's the number. Or, you know, if it's flat 7
Right.
or if we're in minor and I want to go, I know that we can do flat major, you know, flat 6 major, flat 7 major 1.
Right.
And then what also like I was stoked on one day, I realized like it's just like all those harmonic movements and like how you hear music like I started to really hear it. Like I was like, wow, no, I see it now. Like it's like one of those paintings where you're like it's all like jumbled up, and then if you look at it just right, you see it. It's like, oh, I started seeing it. It was so obvious.
That's beautifully put.
And just like, yeah, and I just came at it from that perspective, and just my ear got better and better, and then I just start to hear everything more. You know, I'm still working on it, obviously, but
yeah,
I don't know. I ended up going. It's like I was like, oh, that's how those guys were doing it.
Yeah,
for sure. So, yeah, that's kind of for me.
Yeah, well, there are different players. Like, I never played with Stan Getz or Chet Baker, but those are two guys that I'm told, I have friends that have played with them, and I'm told that they don't really know music theory. They can read, of course, but they don't really know music theory.
See,
they don't know it from an intellectual point, but they sure know it from
right. So
which is killer.
That's what I noticed. You nailed it on the head with these church guys. Is like they hear this stuff and they really hear it. It's like they may not know that it's like, oh, you're doing a 2/5 to the 6. I mean, they do talk like that though, actually, but like they may not know, oh, that's a half diminished chord. But it's like they know it. They're playing it. Like they know that it goes D minor half diminished, G7 flat 9 if you want, and then C minor. And it's like, but the thing is that they approach it from like, they really know how like they'll voice lead if you're in C minor, they'll voice lead like the G, A flat, A. Let's say you want to end on C minor 6. It's like the voice leading of that. And then I noticed, I was like, wow, that's how you use altered chords. Is like, it really makes it more dramatic. And I started seeing it in real time, in like real life, like in the natural habitat, you know? And it was like, it started making sense. I was just like, oh, wow. Like one thing that blew my mind, and it's not even that big of a deal. It's just, I just looked at it from a different perspective. And when we'd be playing something in major, you know, it's major, major. And then all of a sudden they do something at the end. And then next thing you know, you're in minor, the same one chord, but you're in minor. And they're doing, you know, all these movements where you wouldn't be doing that in major, like flat 6.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you could, but it's just like, it was such a dramatic shift of modes. And I was like, wow, that's how you do it. Like, like that, it was so dramatic and you could really feel it. Like,
so is that something that they are just making it up on the spot, or do they sort of have it, but they don't write it down, and you as a newcomer to their music had to kind of learn it?
No, I mean, they're improvising, and there's like a style to it, just like we would do, you know, turnarounds that like make sense to us, and like, like everyone knows that one. It's like they will play something, and now I've learned the lingo, you know, better and better. So it's
the
like
lingo that they speak,
that they do, you know, you know, stuff like that's really major pentatonic and like, and it's just so bluesy. So for me, it was like I went back home because I just love Hendrix, so it's like I just love blues guitar.
Yeah.
So it was like to hear them play it, and it was just like, I don't know, it completely transformed the way I see music, to be honest.
Yeah.
It kind of changed. It kind of changed my life, to be honest. And I just love that stuff. It's just like, and it's grooving, and it's just like the way they play is like, it reminds me of how the jazz greats play, like good improvisers, like not even jazz. Like it just reminds me of like, you know, Hendrix and like the classic blues players, and like the way, you know, and then you see how that goes to like R&B and soul music. And it's just like, I don't know. I just love it. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really made sense to me. I was like, wow, this is like connects so much with the jazz characteristics, like the mentality. It's the same, it's just a different groove, really. Anyways, I guess that's why you see some of the best players come from like churches, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyways, what about you? How do you see stuff?
Well, I started out as a rock player as well, and so at that point there was no theory, and it was just all ears, and it wasn't until maybe high school that I started. You know, I grew up with jazz actually, because my Trip and my brother and I, our dad was a jazz head, and he played drums, and he didn't do it as his living, but he did it as his love. And so we were constantly around Miles Davis and Coltrane and Dan Getz. So after playing rock when we were young, then we got into jazz, and then once we got into jazz, then we started taking lessons and sort of learning about theory and stuff, and kind of got interested in theory. So I'm kind of from the basic starting point, non-technical, and then got pretty technical. And then as years have marched on, and I teach less, and it's more, I'm just doing it. I'm not as quick to say, oh, it's that. In terms of description, I know, of course, in the sound. And it's I'm more apt to just want to break the rules of theory.
For sure. No, I know exactly what you mean.
So it's good. So I like the balance that I have, which is theoretical, so I can make charts and transcribe and do all that, but I also just love it when it's no rules and it's just just free floating. I mean, it's funny that you ask these questions, because I went really deep on this, because when I was getting my master's, I ended up writing this. They made you write a bunch of papers, which I was like, why are we writing papers? Like, I'm trying to play guitar. What are you talking about? And so I ended up writing this paper about like how to learn, the difference, basically what we're talking about, like how you learn music, and more specifically jazz. So I ended up going really hard on it, and like and I was talking about, both sides of the coin and how you approach it. And it was just interesting, because I feel like, you think of Wes Montgomery, let's say, for example, and like supposedly Wes didn't really read, I guess, that's how legend says, I guess. Right. So it's like, but he clearly knows what he's playing. Like it's, like it's without a doubt. And so like, I found it, and I kind of paralleled it with like these, these church players that were influencing me so much. And it's like, these guys knew what they were playing, and we talk in numbers a lot. So it's like, hey, what key are we in? Okay. It's, 1, 6, 2, 5, whatever. And then to the 4, and then, 7, 7, 3, 6, 2, or whatever it is, and they do cycle 5. So they get it. And then like, we talk in numbers, but it's like, they just really hear. It's like, it's maybe maybe you don't articulate it with a word, but it's not that you can't paint the same picture and like as clear, because it's like, these guys are painting clear pictures. Like, it's pretty amazing. So it's like, I found it interesting to go deep on like how we learn, music and language and stuff. Cause really, I mean, there's a lot of people that can speak a language and maybe they can't write it. Like my mom speaks Arabic, but she can kind of write it. She's just kind of lost it over the years, but she clearly understands Arabic. You know what I mean? She can talk. And so it's like almost the same thing, where it's like, these guys clearly know, when you're playing and you hear these. For me, it just, once I found this framework, it just helped me so much. Of just really hearing the movements and the harmonic, the chord sequences. It's like, you can tell there's a pattern. And then I just went, and then it's like, I don't know, I started wondering, like, why is it major? You know what I mean? Why is everything based around major?
It's just so magical. It's like, why does it sound so good? You know what I mean? Like and then I started thinking, well, the Harmonic Series kind of has major already in it, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then I started thinking, I'm like, but why does the blues sound so good? Like, why can you play a major third and then just play minor third on top and it sounds great? And you could just play blues.
It makes you think that, and maybe this is how it is. Maybe if you just hear it enough for your life, like what if all of a sudden it sounded really good to do something that sounds bad now? Like, in fact, maybe when we first heard jazz and we heard guys play out, or we heard them play giant steps changes over, a modal thing, and maybe it takes getting used to. I don't know. That's a good question though. But it sure sounds good to play a major and a minor third, and also, it sounds good is a major 7 and a minor 7 on a minor chord. I mean,
Yeah.
like to do them right next to each other. It's
Yeah.
kind of cool.
Yeah. And it's interesting because like if you take it to the blues, like so simple as how I was thinking, I was like, well, why does it sound so good when you just play just a major sound like a triad, but and then you could just play minor pentatonic. Like everyone agrees, like it sounds
I
great.
know.
And I started thinking, I was like, well, because I was nerding out one day a while ago on Miles Okazaki's book. Have you seen that book?
No.
You should see the image. I wonder where I have it. I think it's right
Who's
here.
Miles
Actually.
Ozaki?
Here, hang on. Let me grab it.
Yeah.
So I found this guy. He's like a modern guitar player. He's kind of under the radar, I think. But just look at the image.
Wow. It reminds me of Pat Martino.
Right.
Because Pat Martino was into kind of these vectors and
right. And I remember I was sitting here nerding out. He's got a like some page on just harmonics. Yeah, on this basically.
yeah, wow.
And I started writing. If you can kind of see. I started writing all the Harmonic Series, like the numbers. So I started going up, and I was just like really nerding out on it. And I realized that it's just like, I think. And then it hit me. I was like, man, maybe this is why the blues sound so good. Because if you think Harmonic Series, what is it? So it's one octave, 5 octave, 3 5, which would 1 3 5, which is basically the major triads. And then it goes flat 7, 1, 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, flat 7. It gets really nerdy up there. It starts going chromatic, but it's like you have flat 7 and flat 5, and it's like, dude, I think that's why it hit me. I was like, maybe that's why the blues sound so good.
So maybe it's built on the Harmonic Series.
It's just like naturally in it. I found it so interesting. It was blowing my mind one day. I was thinking hard, and I was just like, why does major sound so good? It's like we kind of like it. Just, I don't know. Anyways, that's interesting how you think how we can. It's interesting how like you're saying. I'm sure some of the stuff that was like kind of cutting edge and like, you know, let's say Coltrane's playing like sheets of sound stuff. It's like people didn't, you know, at first it's like, what are these guys doing? But like you're saying, it's like maybe people start to, you know, you train yourself to hear it. And
yeah, it might be. I mean, it might be some of the things that like we've gotten over time, even not just us personally, but as a culture, you know, as a culture got used to major chords and then playing minor pentatonic on it. Maybe it just took, maybe the first time that, you know, maybe like for instance, what in Bach or Mozart, what if they were doing it then? They probably wouldn't have.
I've always wondered that.
It probably wouldn't work, you know?
Yeah,
but then I don't know. I mean, anyway, that it's an interesting thought. How it all kind of evolved.
Yeah, it kind of blows my mind. It seems so. I think the more I study it, which is counterintuitive, the more it just seems more like magic. Honestly, it's kind of interesting. But
yeah.
So did I miss the Dianne Reeves stream? I think I missed it.
Yeah, we did it last week. We did Pat Metheny's music, and then she sang on one Pat Metheny tune.
Is it still on YouTube?
It is. Yes,
okay,
yes.
Cool. I'm gonna watch that because I love Dianne Reeves.
Me too. And man, she just takes a solo. She just plays the head, sings the solo, like lots of solo, and she takes a great solo.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. She's
one of my favorites.
I know.
Like her and Sarah Vaughan. I'm just like, oh, these two.
Yeah.
Have you, I mean, I feel like you've worked with her, yeah?
With
Dianne Reeves?
Yeah, a lot.
I thought so.
Yeah. There's a guitar player named Romero Lumbambo, and he's a Brazilian guy, and he's the guy that has played with Dianne for years, and he's her main guitarist. And I call myself a stunt guitarist because when he can't do the gig, then I do it. But there's been over the last 7 or 8 years, there's been a lot of work that I've done. I've done a lot of, you know, and it's really neat because it's sort of, she's pretty well established. And so it's been my first taste of my whole life to tour at kind of a high level.
Oh, I see.
Where you make good money and then
they just take care of you.
They take care of you, and there's a sound man and there's a roadie, and you don't lift gear and stay in good hotels. And
you're not roughing it anymore.
That was fun. That was really fun to do because I scraped a fair amount, you know. And
Right.
but here's one thing: have you traveled much before the pandemic? Did you travel, play music much?
Not really, to be honest. Just like some random stuff, but not
Well,
like.
you did that gig with Leonard, right, in Hawaii?
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. Well, anyway, why I ask is because traveling with a guitar has gotten extremely difficult.
Right.
Like I mean, I've seen it through the years evolve from where you could, like, I just sold a piece of, I sold just the other day used on eBay a, an anvil case with wheels on the bottom for a guitar amp.
Oh,
Because
oh.
back in the day, man, we'd roll up to the airport. There'd
Hmm.
be these guys that were taking your luggage, and you just sort of tip them well, and you could get guitars, drum sets, you could get everything on board.
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, and it evolved from that to where it is now, where like every time I'm traveling with my guitar, I'm trying to bring it on, you know, and it's in a small case,
Right.
not the double neck guitar. I don't travel with
No,
that,
no, no, no.
but it's just in a small case. And man, every time it's just of late, it's just like, no, you can't bring that on, and we're gonna take it, and we're gonna charge you, you know,
Oh,
$100 or something.
man. You know what? I've actually, what little I have flown or like flown with, um, like when I was at state, we went to Montenegro for this.
Yeah, I saw pictures of that for
Yeah.
some reason.
So
That was with the big band, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we went, and that was like, we took a bunch of flights, but like I've done that and like flown to Mexico City a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think, I mean, maybe some other stuff I can't think of right now, but I've gotten pretty lucky. I feel like every time I've done it, I
Yeah.
somehow get it on, and like it's stressful, but like I just take, one of the small, I don't know, one of the small ones. I've gone to New York too, but I think, I don't know. I think it's like certain airlines, right?
Well, it is. It is certain airlines, and also, Louis, it has changed in recent times. It just keeps evolving, getting worse as I
Mm-hmm.
see it. But it is like certain airlines, like I did a tour right before COVID. I was in Europe with Sine, this vocalist that I work with
Oh
from Denver.
yeah. Yeah. I've seen some on your stream.
Yeah. So she gets these really nice tours where we went to the Canary Islands and we were all over Denmark. But a lot of it we drove, but some of it we flew. And
Mm-hmm.
then, yeah, there are these little obscure airlines and they were just not having it. It's just awful. So, so anyway, I'm not sure why I brought traveling up, but I'm really digging the streams and as a way to reach people in faraway places and maybe not have to fly there with a guitar.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, yeah, we were kind of chatting about this on the phone call. And
Yeah.
you kind of mentioned that, like, we were both like, man, I kind of like it. Like, we don't need to go. I mean, I can't really argue with you, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, there's something super magical about playing live with
For
an
sure.
audience. It's sort of, but anyway, this has sure been a great ride for the pandemic. And even when the pandemic ceases, I'm really determined to
You
keep
should
it
keep,
up.
yeah,
Not to be the only way to play, but maybe.
just an outlet. Definitely. I think I've kind of decided the same thing. I'm going to keep doing this in some fashion. And I think it's great. I mean, especially like there's a lot of people that know who you are, and it's so cool because they wouldn't, you're not, I mean, when do you get to go over there even when you are traveling? It's not like you can go everywhere every year.
I know.
So it's kind of
Yeah.
cool. Like you can, and you have your own channel really to have people follow you.
Yeah.
It's like a direct, I think it's cool. It's like kind of in your pocket in a sense. You could
Yeah.
pull up on your phone. Like, I mean, you could be skating down. You could be surfing with a waterproof phone watching the stream. Like, it's crazy.
Hey, so here's a question for you. How do you see your streaming um, concerts? Do you have like, do you have any goals of things that you're going to implement, or are you, or how is it evolving as you see it?
Well, I'm not really big timing like you, so I feel like for me, my goal right now is just to is to just put up cool stuff, and in doing so, really my only goal in the beginning of this was to like document all these cool people I know.
Yeah.
Because I had a friend. Did you know Nina?
Yeah.
So Nina,
Yeah.
she
In fact,
died. Yeah.
I saw a video of you and her singing, and that gal, I got to work with her a little bit, and
Oh,
I
I'm
was
sure.
out with her singing.
She was amazing. I told her, I was like, dude, this is, I told her I thought she was great. Like she could sing anything, especially, and we kind of had a certain chemistry together when we would play, and she loved all those tunes. Anyways, ever since she passed away, I was like, man, and I was so glad that I had some videos of her.
Yes.
It's kind of like where this all began, really.
I see.
And I started realizing, I was like, man, I'm so glad at least I have these videos on YouTube and on my computer or whatever. But I'm like, man, we should. And then we started doing the stream, me and my girlfriend kind of just at the house, me and her oh, hey, why don't we could stream this? I got an interface, and it slowly progressed.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of was like, man, we should do this anyways, just to like document everyone anyways. Like we might as well. And we have this studio I'm a part of, so it's like I have the place, and I was like, and I just so I kind of just went all in, and we were trying to, raise some funds by donations if we could, and just to keep busy. I felt kind of lucky because, I mean, this whole past year I was so sidetracked with trying to stream good.
God, no kidding, man.
I felt kind of lucky because most people, they didn't really have an outlet, and I surely had an outlet. Like
You mean an outlet for your music?
Yeah, or just for my music, or just to be able to just to not think about all the stuff on the news, and just it was,
know.
you know what I mean? It was just like a good, and I felt like I was putting stuff on the internet that was not all you were seeing, and I mean, not as bad anymore, but all you were seeing was like the world's gonna end, like it's like it was nice to just like whatever, just like you don't we hear that all day, like who cares?
Yeah.
So it was nice to be able to do that, and then now it's kind of become something, I don't know. Now I got a light. Now I got to keep going. My mom and my girlfriend got this for me. My dad, my mom, my dad, and
that is so soulful. That's your logo right there,
hilarious. Man. But what about your stream? Like how do you for me, to answer your question, I'm just trying to get people to like see it and follow, and then maybe if I can create a community, we can do cool stuff, whether it's like Zoom. Right. I really like Twitch. I feel like Twitch is going to blow up for the jazz community and music in general. And I hope that, I just hope that people will find it and think it's cool, and like create a cool little club that you can,
Well, one thing I don't get about Twitch, why do you like Twitch? I mean, do you like the facility, or I mean the interface, the way that you connect with it, or do you like the fact that it's a community, more of a community than YouTube or Facebook? I just don't know it. So.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like I like Twitch and YouTube are kind of what I like a lot. Like I'm doing a lot of Facebook stuff just because I don't know, I can too, and there's people that see it, but it's also those are people that I already kind of know, and it's like. I feel like on YouTube and Twitch, it's like random people.
Oh, okay.
They just find you, and they're not in San Diego, and it's cool to like,
yeah.
You have these weird virtual relationships where you see the same name on the chat. You're like, hey, what's up? And like, it's just funny. And it's like people like it, and they can, there's so many people on the planet that like, I just don't see why people, I just don't see how people wouldn't like the scene that I see every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, I mean, we do this anyways. Like, people like it on some level. We're going to play gigs and stuff, and we have a life. But I just feel like to be able to put it on the internet too, it's like an alternate TV. Like I watch all sorts of stuff on the internet, and I find like it's cool to find cool channels, and like, oh wow, look at these guys are just here, and this is what they do, and like look how good they are. This is so cool. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what about you?
Well, for me, the thing I like I like there's many for our shows. My thinking is always to come up with some sort of angle on a show,
Mm-hmm.
like doing somebody else's music,
Right.
or doing an idea of a theme,
Mm-hmm.
or not a theme at all, but doing original music. But whatever it is, I kind of like the process of imagining it, then pulling it together, pulling all the pieces together. I like, of course, learning this new music and the challenge to try to pull it off in sort of a quick time, because we
Mm-hmm.
only have a couple rehearsals, and it's, like I'm interested in kind of involved composition, I guess, a little
Okay.
bit. So I kind of like to write that way, but I the other guys seem to like that too. So anyway, I like that part of it. I like the technical part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I like the community part of the band, because we usually have kind of a similar band. We have always different rotating guests,
Yeah.
but I like being with them, and then I like the community that we established, because it's been pretty good. I mean, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
How many people tune in, and a lot of the same names, and we kind of converse with them through the chat, and then
It's kind of wild.
it's it's so far out.
It's far out for sure.
And so it's, and then the technical part I like too. I mean, where I see it, mine going is just getting more. There's so many bugs, I'm sure that like so I'd love to have a set of time where we were cruising and just focusing only on the music part. But
Yeah.
but so far up to this point, every week there's something that went wrong, and then so then I'm during that week trying to figure it out.
Man,
And then one thing we did is we built. I had a shed out in the back,
Mm-hmm.
and we just had it transformed into a drum room.
Oh.
So it's like 50 feet away. So I have cables that ran underneath the ground, and then it goes up and
Wow.
soundproofed it. And so I made it so, because one of the things is, we're part of what I like about our stream is that we're all in a recording studio, and
Right.
we're all separated. So we have this great sound
Mm-hmm.
of each instrument being really clear and not bleeding into the next.
Right.
So that having the drums out there kind of afforded us to be able to have more people play the stream, because
Mhm.
now in the main room where the drums were, we can for sure have one person, but if it was non-COVID, we could have a couple of people.
Ah.
Because I like the idea of it just keep getting bigger and bigger.
I think you totally should.
Yeah.
I think it's great. And like I mean, I feel you when something goes wrong every time.
Oh.
I feel you, man.
Doesn't it?
I literally had something go wrong that's never gone wrong yesterday on Gilbert's concert.
Tell me, what was it?
Okay, so I my hypothesis is I got a new MacBook Pro, and it's the M1, so technically it's not running all these programs natively. So because of that, I think that I'm plugging in, usually when I'm there, I'm plugging into two Universal Audio Apollos, and they link really well. Never had an issue. It's fine. It shows up. I got 16 channels. It's great. And so I plug in everything, and I end up plugging the horns, Christopher and Gil yesterday, into its own interface, separate. Okay. It was just like mentally, I was like, okay, they're on that. Okay, perfect. Okay. And I'm listening. I'm like, why does it sound like it's like, it was almost like it sounded like it was clipping. So you got like this like fuzz when they were playing. But it was like, it wasn't a clip. It clearly was not clipping. But I was just like, almost, or that was like, it almost sounded like the speaker was blown. And I'm like, is the speaker blown? So and I'm in the moment of like, you're doing a million things and you're thinking about a million things. And I have, I'm like, all right, grab my headphones, and I play. No, it's in the headphones. I'm like, well, it can't be it's not both the speaker and my headphones. And I could not figure it out for the life of me. So I was like, abandon ship. We're going to only use the main interface, the one that's the host. Yeah. And it worked fine. I rearranged some stuff, but granted, I had to, I had to take away a mic or two, which was fine. I made it work, but it was just like a panic. And then I got it to work, and thank God I plugged in. It was good. Okay, we're good, Gilbert. Don't worry, we're good. Okay, we're all right. And then after the stream, I'm like, what is wrong with this thing? So I go in, and I think I unplugged something, or I might have redone something, and then next thing you know, it's working fine. Oh, sounds great. I'm like, what is going? And I think that it's just like a glitch in the matrix. I don't know.
Well, what you're describing sounds like that. If you have two different interfaces, and well, you said the Apollos are the same, they're linked in some way, but when you get another interface, one has to be the master and one has to be the slave for clocking.
Right.
And but it could have been that it wasn't set up, but how about this idea, which you just mentioned that you did, you unplug it and start again. I've had that work so many times.
Yeah. Just that was the moral of the story, basically.
But it's just dangerous work. That's what you and I are into, is like having that many open channels of mics. Okay, it's one thing to record, and then not a lot of people record 4 musicians at the same time. A lot of people record one musician, so you have one mic to deal with. But now you've got 16 channels of audio, and then you add on all this camera stuff, and then the video switcher. I mean, it is dangerous work.
You know what, too, is I think I secretly love it. But
I mean, isn't it great when it works,
It is, yeah. I think that's what it is. I think it's like, oh my God, it worked. Yeah. And then like, it sounds good. Yes. It's like, makes it worth it. But like, man, do I hate it too.
I know. And that feeling, I've had that feeling like show's about to start, something's not working.
Yeah.
Just sometimes I just do the same thing. Like we had a camera on the Matheny show that we did the other night. We have this GoPro that we have up on the ceiling, and this is funny. And so we have the main camera on the drums, but then we have a ceiling shot so you can see, you look down. It's kind of fun. So we're trying to get it to work. It's not working. We're at the video switcher. Then we go in there to the drum room, and it's lying on the ground. So, oh, dang, because the way we put it up was not strong enough.
And it fell.
And so then, okay, we'll try to plug it in. It's not working. So then we just bailed ship. Then the next day I plug it in and it works fine.
Sounds all right.
So it happens to everyone. And I'm sure it happens, you and I, we're musicians probably first and technicians second. And,
yeah, for sure.
And imagine guys that are totally technicians. I mean, it happens to them too. It's just electronics they're scary stuff.
There's so many like things that can go wrong. There's so many pieces to the puzzle that just, we're missing a piece. Yeah. Or like this cable went out or just whatever. Yeah. And I swear these computers have a mind of their own.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes
have you discovered this company called Monoprice?
Uh-oh, no.
Well, the only reason I say it is because you mentioned cables, and I had to buy so many different cables, and it's a company that you just buy it online, but it's really a really good deal.
Okay.
And it's called Monoprice. Just
I'll check it out.
I don't get a commission or anything.
I'll check it out. Yeah. I mean, well, see, you know what's funny though is like just kind of what you said right now is like we're so used to, like now we've completely made the transition of like, well, you don't really go to stores for some things.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
You kind of just don't anymore. There's certain things that, I mean, you can, but there's certain things that you just got to order it.
I know, because so many times before I just adopted that attitude, I would go to a store and they're out of stock or something. Right. Or you can't find it sometimes too. It's just, especially these electronic things like cables or it's like sometimes for me, I don't even know what the language is. Like what kind of a cable? How do you describe this thing that I need?
Yeah. And like with that, I think that there's an aspect of like, that's happening in every sector of life, right?
It is.
Business. And I think that that's happening to music too, no matter what, which is good and bad, I guess. But the good side is that now your audience is the entire planet.
I know.
Like for real. And that just blows my mind.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can really like, I mean, really, it's just like you literally have it in your pocket. Like it's just a little laptop with some cables, and you know, it's really not that crazy.
I know.
I mean, it's the technology is amazing, but it's like once you see how it works, like, oh, okay, yeah, that's for the audio and that's for the video, and then we send it through this little cable. That, you know, that blows your mind, but it works. But it's like, wow, the fact that you can do that and then everyone can just see it and they could follow you and text you or whatever. It's just like, it's pretty cool because it's like, for once you kind of now have control over everything.
Right.
It's kind of, it's kind of cool. Like, this is kind of like what we've been, I mean, in a sense, what like most people were waiting for, musicians were waiting for. It's like you couldn't control everything, but now you kind of can. You can do it from your house. I mean, you're doing it from your house.
I know. Yeah, and one thing that makes me think of is it's so freeing. Right. This idea of being a record company or a TV show on a TV channel on your own. That's what I love it because I you know, when I started out making records, we had a record producer, you know, right. and in fact, I'm so old that my first record, I had a record deal where the record company would pay you money to make a record, and right. they'd pay the musicians in the studio, but they've also came with a producer who had certain thoughts, like mm-hmm. like I remember when I recorded for Concord, I was really into Chick Corea and got to know some of his, got to know him and mm-hmm. and some of his sidemen, and I was really wanting to play music and write music that was in that sort of vibe. And this record producer was an older guy, and he just thought playing jazz standards is where it's at. So we had kind of a warp, and playing jazz standards is super cool.
It's great, but if that's I see what you mean.
But I wasn't where I was at.
Wow.
Okay. So it's so neat now. If on our shows or
you can do whatever
recording, And you know, it was nice having a record deal, but that's that's way in the past. They don't really exist much anymore for people.
Yeah, and honestly, in terms of like, I follow a lot of comedy because I just think it's great, and it's like a way for me to check out. You know what I mean? And so I follow all these comedians, and I love. And honestly, those guys are on it because the name of the game with them is they all have podcasts, they all have their own internet shows. They're all on YouTube with their channels and their little clips, and they communicate, come to this show, I'm going here. And then it's like, and they're on it. And I'm just like, dude, that, and I kind of just stealing that idea really like that. Okay. I finally have time to where, you know, I feel like I can kind of play a little bit and like, okay, well, this could work, you know?
Yeah.
So, and then with this whole timing of everything, and that's how I kind of have been seeing it. And it's kind of, I like it. It's cool. 'Cause like you're saying, it's like your own, I mean, it's cool to see like what people would make if they really didn't have to worry about what other people thought, in a sense.
Yeah, I like that thought.
Because like these guys are, you know, they can't get certain record deals or comedy deals because if they say something that, you know, they have to take it out and now it's not, you know what I mean? It's like, but now they just put it on YouTube and people love it. And it's like, wow, I mean.
And they are their own business because that's another experience that I had through this evolution of record companies going from where they were to where they are. Mm-hmm. There was a period of time where now they're not paying you to make a record, but they're putting it out. So you do all the recording and pay the sidemen, then the record company puts it out and takes a cut for distributing it. Mm-hmm. Well, then we had back in that era a record company that sold the record and made money and then went broke and never paid us. Oh. So now, you know, like these comedians you're talking about, they're their own boss. Yeah. And the money's not getting all dribbled down between unfair people, you know?
Yeah, it's like direct from consumer to, you know, whatever we're called.
And that's kind of like what we are, our streams. Like we're getting paid through tips, and it's directly from, you know, the people that are listening.
Yeah, and I mean, and what's great is I'm gonna make some shirts.
Oh, good on you, man.
And so like, it's great because you got me thinking like with your books and stuff. It's like, yeah, you have stuff, other things. You're right. It's nice to have like your own thing. It's cool. You don't have to really rely on anyone And the
Yeah.
fact that it just blows my mind that you could just do this from like a laptop or your phone. It's crazy. It's insane.
I love it.
I can't believe it, man.
Hey, Louie,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go in a little bit
Okay.
because
Yeah. No worries. However
I
long.
gotta meet my wife for dinner at 6. So
Sounds great.
just getting the heads out.
Yeah. No worries, man. I'm glad we were able to do this for however long. Like I'm stoked.
I loved it too, and we'll do it again.
Yeah,
Um,
man. Can you tell maybe everyone how to find do you have like a certain YouTube channel? What is it called? Just Peter Sprague?
yeah, I think it's just called petersprague.com, and I have my own channel,
Okay.
a bunch of videos, and then I have a website, petersprague.com,
Okay.
that has a gig page that lists the information for the live streams that are coming up.
And you're on it with the email list.
I am, and I don't know if you've done that, but mine is super effective, I believe. I have about 4,000 people, and
What do you do your email on? Like, how do you keep track of all this stuff?
I know it's so much work, dude.
It's so
So
tedious.
so what I do is I have a program that on the Mac that I keep track of the email,
Mm-hmm.
and it also puts out the email. So then when it's time, when someone, my website, someone signs up, I want to be on your email list, that comes to me. I then transfer it to this program.
Okay.
And then when I create an email, I write it, and then I post it as a post on my website, and then I take that post and put it into a program, Adobe, called Dreamweaver, and then I manipulate it a little bit. Then I send it out through this program, and then I send it out through a company called SendGrid, which is a company that I pay $14 a month to send a ton of mail out.
Okay.
So it's a bit of a process, but for me, and it probably is because I'm older and my fans are older,
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of them are not doing Facebook, say, or
Instagram and stuff.
yeah, they're not. So mine goes directly to them, and I put a fair amount of energy into how I prepare that email. Like I write, and I'm not fully
Yeah, you write.
soliciting.
Yeah, you have like a full story, kind of.
I kind of have a story going for each one.
Yeah.
Like I might mention that we were hanging out and that you got this cool sign.
It's true because I get them and I read them. It's like story time with Peter.
I know,
It's
exactly.
cool. It's like,
So
what's happening?
It seems to be effective because people are really coming to the streams,
Mhm.
and people respond a lot to my emails.
That's great.
So it's something that works. I wouldn't say that would work for everyone because, like your generation, Instagram is probably the thing, or
Those kinds of
Facebook.
platforms. Yeah, I see what you mean. It's kind of transitioning. I get you.
Yeah,
That's
but
great.
it's if you ever need any help doing it, but it is time consuming. It's
Yeah.
it's heavy, you know.
Okay, cool. Well, that's great, man. Well, thank you for doing this so much. And,
Indeed.
we'll have to do this again.
Yeah,
I'm going to check out your, I want to see the Dianne Reeves one. So I'm going to go,
Yeah.
I'm literally going to do that right now.
Hey, check out Dianne Reeves. So that's right about the middle of the show.
Okay.
And then there was this other moment that went down. Rebecca Jade is singing,
Mm-hmm.
and I think she is, Dianne Reeves is fantastic, one of the best, and Rebecca Jade is so good too. And she sings this song, which is sort of before your time.
Okay.
But there's the quick story. It's a song by Jimmy Webb, and Jimmy Webb was a composer in the 60s, say, that wrote a lot of big pop hits.
Okay.
And have you ever heard of Glenn Campbell? He's a
Maybe.
guitarist, singer, but anyway, he had a big hit with this song at that time called
Okay.
Wichita Lineman. So people like when I was a kid, that was a big tune that was happening.
Okay.
It was more pop, but anyway, but it's a beautifully written tune. I mean, harmonically, it's clever. But so we did a version, and the reason that we did the version on our show of Pat Metheny is Pat Metheny once said, and he's from Wichita, basically, he said that every song that he writes is trying to be Wichita Lineman.
Oh.
So we played Wichita Lineman, and because you'll hear it like it's in well, I forget what key we did, but say it's in D major, and then it goes to that B flat major, then to C, and
There's
that
the flat
that chord
6,
change
flat
you missed.
7. That's it. You said it.
I know. So, and that's totally Matheny. Matheny does that all the time. So, but anyway, the version that we did on the show with Rebecca singing is gorgeous.
Okay, I'll definitely check that out for sure, because she's wonderful.
She is wonderful.
And you reminded me, I'm such an idiot. I didn't even ask you about Matheny, so we're gonna have to do that next time.
Next time. Yeah,
but
he's great. We'll save that story or my stories of knowing him a little bit.
I don't know how I forgot, because I love Matheny, and I was but that's good. This is a good foreshadow.
A good reason to meet again.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, Louie.
Well, thank you, Peter,
thanks,
so much.
Man.
Yeah. Likewise, man. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll stay in touch and listen, if you ever need anything, any technical help or something that I can, if I can help you, I'd love to help.
Okay, cool. Yeah, man. And likewise, I love when you call me and we nerd out on tech stuff.
Yeah.
It makes my day. So, all right, man.
All right, brother. We'll see you soon.
See
Bye-bye.
ya. Have a good one.
Okay.
All right. Stoked. That was great. Peter is the man. So, all right, y'all. Thank you for doing this, and thanks for watching. Peter, we love you, and I'm gonna go check out his stream. So be sure to check it out. I think it's, what do you say, Peter Sprague? I mean, just Google him. You'll find the guy. He's the man. So I'm gonna go check out his stream, especially with Dianne Reeves. I can't wait. Thank you guys for being here, and if you want to check out his book, Sprague Technique, boom, prove it. And shout out to Miles Okazaki. You might as well, because his book's right here. I haven't really gone through this one as much. Where's the cover? Here you go. Boom. And let's see here. We got some more streams coming up, so check it out. And thank you, Peter Sprague, for all you do. And go check out his page. Check out the stream that he does. Go follow and subscribe. And make sure you check out our pages. Check them out. Follow, subscribe, share with your friends, comment, say what up, and check out the stream. So we'll see you guys next time.
Like salty sweet, horn line meets bass line, a love supreme, a love supreme, a love supreme. So listen close to the song being sung by the wind and what it carries, how it reaches us all. I hear it clear and unfettered on cool, peaceful mornings, rich, full of life. Kaboom, bap.
A jive symphonic funk of off-tone melodies and open-tone vibrations. It's life.